Welcome to the Daily Plunge. We are in the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26, verses 1 through 11. Moses reminds them, speaking on behalf of God, you've entered the land the Lord your God has given you. In other words, you've entered the promised land, the land which is a gift from God, that this inheritance is from God. This whole first verse is about what God has done to deliver grace to them, right? And so their whole existence is one of grace. And he says, after you've been there a while, after you've settled in and you have produced a crop, after you have the produce from the soil of the land the Lord is giving you, by the way, the Lord is giving you, then you are to take a basket of that and go to the place where the Lord's name dwells, where his presence is. And then he just instructs them there is a liturgy. The first, it says in verse 3, I declare today, I am confessing today that the Lord, my God, that I've come into the land that he promised. And so I'm confessing that the Lord is my God and he has fulfilled his promise to me because I'm living on it. I'm living it out. And then you give the basket to the priest, and then your liturgy continues. And you say, my father was a wandering Aramean. Now, why? Why are they doing this? Because the dunderheads that are going to follow generations later need to be reminded, reconstituted, retold over and over again that life is a gift from God and that God is the one who set this all up, right? Now, when he says my father, that would be Jacob. And that happened hundreds of years prior. And so what I'm trying to get to is that, they're stepping into a liturgy that connects them with the generations before, so that the story that began in Jacob is their story. And that this story that began in Jacob and went through the slaves in Egypt, through Moses, into the wilderness, and through Joshua is going to be continued to be the story of Israel for generations. And he says, we were oppressed. We cried out. And the Lord heard our voices, not his voice, not their voices, our voices, saw our misery. And then the Lord stretched out his arm, his saving arm, and redeemed us, pulled us out of slavery, brought us through the Red Sea, and brought us into the promised land, right? And so now he's brought us, as it says, Verse 9, he brought us to this place, a land of milk and honey that he gave us. God is giving us. And so all of this liturgy is a liturgy of thankfulness. And that is what worship is about, right? Is giving thanks and praise to God for who he is and what he does. That is the point of worship. Not us, but thanking God, so that we have a proper perspective on our lives. And one of the things that's about it says, now when you've done that, place the basket before the Lord your God, bow down before him, and then you are to have a feast with the priest and with the stranger and with the fatherless and with the widow. And part of the rejoicing of what God has done is to have a party, to feast together. And part of this is until you have a dwelling place with the Lord, you are wandering, you are adrift. So maybe it's not about wandering in the desert. If you're wandering in the wilderness of life, until you come to the dwelling place of God, you are adrift. And so we're thankful when we find our home with God. Well, thanks, friends. Have a blessed day.